Welcome to Top M&A Entrepreneurs. My guest, Kevin Petersen, to talk about his words of wisdom raising capital for acquisition. Kevin, what can you share with our group?
There's a couple things. So one is I'm just going to share and kind of level set here. I've done 151 investor presentations in the last 24 months. So not that I'm counting, but it's 151. And I learned a lot. A couple things I learned high level. The way I think about it in retrospect is it's a lot like working a trade show booth where the first few pitches were horrible. I was bad, right? I was awkward. I wasn't used to hearing myself pitch what I was pitching. And it was weird. But then by the time I was, 10 or 12 in, it started to flow and I started to get more comfortable and confident. And by the time I was at like 50, it was, cakewalk.
Yeah. You were doing it like I'm the piano man at a concert, right?
Yes, very much so. And so, but some of the key learnings, one is be direct, right? Nobody wants to waste anybody else's time. I don't want to waste the investor's time. They don't want to waste my time. And so there's some ways to manage the conversation such that, there's the adage about get to know the word know as fast as you can, right?
Yeah.
And so the way you do that is the first thing I always ask is, tell me your investing thesis, and then I'll tell you mine, right? And investing thesis, or nowadays, it seems like everybody's calling it a buy box, where PEs and VCs and even a lot of family offices now have a matrix, an actual matrix. It's just like a 1 or 2 page PowerPoint slide that shows, okay, these are the things that are critical to us to invest in something. And so I've got a buy box and I share it with the people I'm pitching to express what makes a good deal for me. And then I ask them what makes a good deal for you. And then another critical piece is min-max check size. And early on, for some reason, I felt like it was awkward or sensitive, or for some reason, I was a little bit intimidated about just asking, hey, what's your capacity? What kinds of checks have you written in the past? But then I learned after, doing 151 pitches that it's important. It's important for the funder to know what size deals I'm going after. And it's important for me to know whether they self-fund, if they syndicate, in other words, how do they fit into the cap table? Will they be a lead investor, or will they only be a follow-on investor? Do they typically invest equity, or are they more comfortable with debt, or do they do, now there's a phrase called dequity, right? Where it's debt with equity components. That's becoming very common now.
Yes, kind of like a revenue share with sweeteners.
Exactly. And so, but now I feel very comfortable early in the conversation just asking, hey, what's your min-max check size? And people know exactly what I mean. And it helps actually to just, if you're really direct and you come out at the top of a call and say, hey, let's, if you could tell me about your buy box and we'll tell you about ours. And then I need to know your min-max check size and how you normally fit in the cap stack, then people respond to that. They're like, oh, he's done it before. Right. And you'll get very direct answers. And it's super important to know this, because every investor has their own, quote unquote, special investing thesis, and they don't deviate ever. So if their perspective if it's not a match for yours, if you two are not a match, it's never going to happen. You're not going to fit a square peg in a round hole. You're not going to convince them that, well, this time it's different, right? The way investors keep from losing money is they don't deviate from their plan, right, ever, right? So you get these, you get the structure sorted and communicated as early as possible in the conversation, and then see if you're a match. And if you're a match, then great, have a conversation. If you're not, then just say thank you and move on, right?
Yeah. How many into the 151 did you add all of these learnings into, in the start of the presentations?
Yeah, so it probably took me 15 or 20 pitches before I started to really feel comfortable with how the conversation flows and should flow and how it's meaningful for both parties. Like how am I moving the conversation and adding value to that person, and how are they doing the same for me? Um, and there are little things, of course, that you just kind of learn over time, just in terms of just like body language and how people are vocalizing, and um and again, it's a lot like being in a trade show booth. There's a point at which, and I share this with people, like I've worked a lot of trade shows in my life. Day one, everybody who walks up to the booth gets the worst pitch ever. And by the third day, and I hate to say this, I hope I'm not offending anyone, but by the third day, you can show up to the booth hungover and everybody's getting an amazing pitch. And there's a point at which you can look down an aisle in an exhibit hall and point out like, oh, that person's going to come over and talk to us. And they're going to ask us these three questions. Like you can just see it, right?
Yeah.
And so pitching is the same. You start to get a feel for, like right at the top of a call, people log on and they say hello, and you start to recognize just from the proverbial handshake process whether you're going to be a match or not.
It's the volume and reps. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin, wonderful advice. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Loved it. Thank you, John.
That's it. Thanks, Ed.
Awesome. Yeah, sure thing. Yep. Cheers.
And good luck. Congratulations and good luck.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I kind of left that out, but I did get success after 151.
No, you can see it on your face, and I hope people are. It wasn't 151 and still counting. It's 151.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we feel good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, we'll see you.
All right. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.